Hey friends, happy fall sewing. If you've been around a while, quite a long time, back when I was still sewing from scratch, and that's all my channel was, I hosted a challenge called Shelf Sewing September, and I'm gonna link those videos down below because they're still really fun and I would love to be able to do it again. However, I'm no longer on Instagram or Facebook or any social media, so I don't know how I would be able to do it. So anyway, it's not being done this year. However, I did have a video planned on how to muster up that courage to cut into your precious fabrics. Then last week I was watching one of Whitney's videos over on Tomcat Stitchery. Probably you're familiar if you're into sewing. And she mentioned that she's hosting a challenge this month called Precious Fabric September. And the notion of that is to cut into some of your very most precious fabrics and use them. Put them on your body or in your house, and instead of having them just stuck away in a drawer or a shelf or whatever, a bin, a tote, whatever, use them for what they're meant to be and for what you purchased them for, and really get to enjoy them. So that goes like perfectly hand in hand with my previous challenges of Shelf Sewing September, which was to use fabrics and notions and everything from your stash instead of purchasing new. Okay, so let's start off with what is a precious fabric? What constitutes a fabric as precious? That is really up to you. Maybe it's a really luxurious fabric that you spent a lot of money on, like a silk or some other sort of fabulous fabric. Maybe it's a fabric that you purchased and you really, really love, but you got the end of the bolt and you know that there is no way that it is coming back. Maybe you purchased it secondhand and you know you will never be able to find it again. Maybe it was gifted to you by a dear loved one. Maybe you inherited it from your grandma. Anything can make a fabric precious. Maybe it wasn't that expensive. Maybe you can get more of it. Maybe you just really love it and you're scared to cut into it. Maybe it's just something that's been in your stash for a very long time. All of these things can make it constitute a precious fabric. The key is that you're afraid to cut into it. So today I'm going to give you some help on how to overcome that fear, at least a little bit, and get you cutting into those special fabrics. Now, I have 2 stacks of fabric here. I went through my drawers, I pulled out things that I would constitute as special precious fabrics. None of them are really anything like super crazy expensive or really that precious if you were to look up the definition in the dictionary. However, they are all things that I have put off using for one reason or another, which brings me to the excuses you may tell yourself of why you're not going to cut into this fabric next. But watch what happens if I start using my excuses. So these fabrics, I call them precious because they are remnant pieces of things that I have made before. They're just pieces that are left over from other projects. I have planned to use these 2 together because they are similar weight, they're viscose. I love, love, love these fabrics. So you're wondering, why don't you cut into them and make something? Here's my excuse. They're out of season. This is summery fabrics. I can't use them now. All right, what about this one? This is like a ponte, really heavy, luxurious, nice feeling ponte fabric. I have plans to make myself a nice sweater out of this, maybe a sweater dress. What's my excuse? Why haven't I done it? I guess because I don't really need it. This fabric, quite possibly the oldest fabric in my stash. I was gifted this by my mom when they went to Newfoundland when my daughter was a baby. So 8 years ago, I received this fabric. Why haven't I made anything with it? I haven't found the perfect thing. I didn't want to make something that I'll wear because I didn't want it to get worn out. I want to make something maybe for my home. But a pillow with puffins on it, at the time I wasn't really into that. Now, maybe. Haven't found the right thing to make with it, so I'm hoarding it. This fabric. This is fairly precious and I've had it quite a while. I got this from Sheer Perfection Fabric. It's a double gauze. It's got this nice splatter print on it. I think this is my last cut of Sheer Perfection fabric that I have in my stash. Love the fabric. It's in my color palette. Why haven't I cut into it? Every time I think about it, it's off season. However, now it's fall. What's my excuse? I don't know what to make with it. And as you can see, now that pile's totally gone. Over here, this fabric, vintage, thrifted, love it, but it's spring and summer. Same with this nice breezy oatmeal colored fabric. I can't wear that in the fall. Come on, people. Brings me to this fabric. I don't believe it's silk. I haven't done a burn test. It's probably some sort of polyester, but I love the print on it and it's nice and drapey, and I would love to have this on my body, but where the heck am I gonna wear a nice drapey dress? So I haven't done anything with it. And finally, I pulled out this fabric, which I purchased when my son was 1, I believe, so 6 years ago, and it was meant to be coveralls at the time. I meant to make the Helen's Closet Yanta overalls with it, shorts, never did it. Now I would love to make myself a pair of cargo pants with it, but my pants drawer is full, so I don't really need to make this. So as you can see, that leaves me with nothing to work with. I want to sew, I love being creative. Why, if I keep making all these excuses, you can see I will have nothing left to work with. So how do we get over that? How do I cut into these fabrics and fuel my hobby, fuel my passion, which is something that we're going to talk about a little bit more, but let's get into probably the biggest hurdle, and that is, what if I wreck the fabric? The number one reason why people don't cut into their special fabric, or really any fabric, is because they're afraid of making a mistake. Now, this obviously goes deeper than just cutting into fabric. I would hazard a bet that this is something that you might face in other areas of your life as well. So if fear of making a mistake is something that plagues you in your life, I, number one, would encourage you to sit with that and see where that feeling is really coming from. And you know, self-improvement is always fabulous and you will do amazing. Do not fear those shadow areas of yourself. However, in the sewing room, let's keep it a little bit lighter. Get over that first hurdle of like using the cutting utensil. Now, if you're concerned that the garment you're making isn't going to fit, I really strongly encourage you to make a muslin, a practice garment, a toile. They are going to show those areas of fit that you're going to need to work on, that you can adjust. You can even go so far as to make adjustments on your muslin and really perfect that fit. Be careful not to overfit. And then you're going to come out with something that is ready for the final rendition. And at that point, you're probably going to be excited to cut into that special fabric or the main garment final fabric. I will caution you though, don't think you need to do this all at once, okay? And this is gonna be something I mention again, just take it step by step. So maybe that means printing out or adjusting the projector file on your computer, and then the next day you actually cut into your practice fabric. Then the next day you start sewing it, and maybe it takes you a few days to sew it. That is totally fine. Sew in small increments so you don't get overwhelmed. Start fitting it, ask for help online if you need to. Whitney has a fitting masterclass that you can participate in. Seamwork has stuff like that too. There's all kinds of free resources online. Get that fit working for you, and then you can cut into your good fabric. And by that point, you're pretty seasoned and ready to tackle all the steps again, because you know where you got hung up or tricked in the first make, and you can now go in and be a little more confident in the next one. Or maybe you need to make another muslin, and that is totally fine. The first one is maybe really a practice garment. The second one can be a wearable muslin, we call them. And then the third one is your final and wonderful, beautiful, proud of yourself make. But you should be proud of all your makes, because I'm proud of you for taking that step and trying it. Now, some of those fabrics I just showed you, I mentioned I was not sure what to make with them. And I'm still not sure what to make with some of them. I want to encourage you to sit with your fabric. Like, this sounds so woo-woo, but just like hold it, stare at it, hang it on a hanger and put it up somewhere where you're gonna see it every day. Maybe you go online and you browse Google or Pinterest and look for things with similar fabrics that you are inspired by or really intrigued by. Go on to Instagram if you have it and search there for different makes. You can go onto pattern designer websites and look through their catalogs. The Fold line is a really good resource, as well as Minerva, because they have all different types of patterns in one place that you don't have to jump around from different pattern makers. They carry all different pattern makers. And then once you have your pattern picked, I want you to envision like the worst thing that could happen. What's the worst thing that could happen if you cut into this fabric? Okay, so you could run out of fabric. You could maybe you cut the fabric, like if it was a shirt and you're supposed to cut it on the fold, maybe you cut it on the fold instead, like cut down the fold line. A lot of these mistakes can really be rectified, and actually they encourage you to be creative and find creative solutions. So maybe that means you have to grab a scrap of fabric. Maybe it means you have to cut something on the cross grain. Maybe it means you have to piece together two pieces to make one piece, and then you have a seam line, which isn't great, but you know what? It's a detail that probably only you will notice. There's all these different like worst case scenarios. Okay, it could erupt into flames. Is that gonna happen? No. And if that did happen, you'd probably be pretty sad that you didn't make anything with that fabric anyway. So just like go ahead and make something with it. There's all these just like terrifying worst case scenarios. And the worst thing that can happen, the very absolute most awful worst thing that can happen is you don't end up using that fabric, which is what you're doing now anyway. It's sitting in your drawer, not being used. So take the risk, try it out, and you'll probably be glad you did. If it does end up being something that you can't wear or you're not comfortable wearing or it doesn't fit, try and repurpose it. I encourage you to make something smaller. Maybe it's just a little bag or a napkin or a pillowcase. It can be anything that still shows that fabric for you. Maybe it's even just a little keychain, something that shows you the fabric and allows you to enjoy it the way that you intended when you purchased it. The whole process for you was a nightmare. Don't force it, let it go. That's fine. Make room for something new in your life. Once you've kind of narrowed down what you want your fabric to be, I want you to envision it and get excited about it and think about it, draw sketches of it, color a printout picture of it, kind of just really spend time getting to know this make and really honing in on those details that you're really looking forward to. So if you've really been needing an A-line skirt in your wardrobe, start thinking about that and how that piece is going to now fit into your wardrobe and the different things you're going to be able to make with it and where you can wear it. Just get excited so that by the time you're ready to prepare the pattern and then cut out your fabric, you're just more excited than afraid and you just go for it. I mean, you could take some deep breaths and maybe have a little bit of candy, do something to reward yourself after if you need to, whatever you gotta do, just try to get over that fear just a little bit. And yes, one step at a time. It could be 10 minutes each day, could be, a little bit each week, whatever it takes. I want you to enjoy the process. I don't want it to become this terrifying, monumental task, because in reality, sewing is one of those things that broken down is very, very simple. You're pushing a button. You're pushing your foot on a button, and that's what makes the stitches. If you go slow enough, you are controlled enough. Yes, of course, there are finesse steps to take, details to master, things like that, but at its core, sewing is very, very, very simple. Garment making can be very, very, very simple with a big impact. Maybe you've been hesitant to try your serger. Maybe it is stuck in a box somewhere. You've been afraid, terrified, you don't know how it's gonna work, anything like that. You've just left it out of sight, out of mind. But yet it's still nagging you in the back of the head. Take it out, get it set up, have some videos to help you. Make yourself a simple little t-shirt or tank top. It's a very, very small, quick project. You will do awesome. And when you tell people that you made it, they will be floored. And you'll be thinking like, oh my God, it was so easy. I wish I would have done it sooner. This is amazing. Honestly, just trust me on this. You need to try it. Sewing is a very simple thing that produces a very beautiful, extravagant reward for those who don't do it. So, if I've got you excited enough for this challenge, I want you to go through your stash, pick out a fabric, decide what you're gonna make, find a pattern, get excited about it, start mustering up the courage. You have the whole month of September to do this. To enter the challenge, because there is prizes, what you have to do is post a picture on Instagram and use hashtag preciousfabric24 and tag Whitney over on Instagram, and you get 1 entry for the whole month. So you can, please feel free to make more, but you do only get the 1 entry. And yeah, there's some prize packages coming. I will link to Whitney's video. There are videos coming out every single day of the month over here on YouTube with different sewing YouTubers. I'm sure you can recognize a ton of them. They're going to be sharing every day, and some days there's actually 2 videos coming out all about precious fabric. So if you need some more inspiration, more motivation, please follow along with that. So now I'm going to share what I did decide to use out of that stash that I had excuses for. So I am going to go with the double gauze. It's just something I want. I still don't know what I'm gonna make, so if you have ideas, put them down below. I think I have a fair bit of this. I could probably make a simple dress, maybe 2 meters or 1.5 meters. So, oh yeah, I could totally make a dress with this, or maybe pajamas. Actually, I need some pajamas. Maybe I'll end up making pajamas with this. I just want something that's like, well, it's double gauze. We want to be cozy, right? So that is getting made up in September for sure. And then I also did decide to finally cut into my puffins. And I am kind of thinking of a pillow now. But my house, I don't know. Oh yeah, also one of my kids cut into this, which really peed me off, as you can imagine. So, I don't know, maybe, the other thing is it's directional, right? So, dang, I could totally make a shirt out of this. It's quilting cotton, but I have a video about patterns to use for quilting cotton. But again, the thing was I didn't want it to wear out. But what's the point if it's just sitting in my drawer, right? So those 2 I am committing myself to. And then I also wanted to mention this fabric. It's gonna be put down as a maybe because I have some other projects, plus we're going away. This is a fabric where I would make something and it will be something that I don't wear very often. The icing, or the frosting it's called. The frosting kind of thing. So I originally thought I could use this as a lining for a coat, which I could, but I don't really need a coat. And I don't really need a fancy dress either, but this would be really pretty and flowy, and I really just want to wear this fabric because I love all the colors in it. I love the print, and I just love everything about it. So, I mean, other than it's polyester, but what do? Sometimes you gotta go with the polyester. So those are my plans. If you have any suggestions for patterns or ideas to make with this stuff, please let me know. I am really looking forward to this challenge. I'm glad that I came across it on Whitney's channel because I have been missing sewing in general, but also just shelf sewing September and encouraging others to use what they already have on hand. So this video is getting very long, but I hope you join us with Precious Fabric 2024, and I'm really excited to hear what you have planned, so if you could leave that in the comments, I would love that. Without further ado, I will let you go. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!